Welcome to a video about Legions of Darkness with the Book of Magic expansion. In this short video, we will be discussing basic gameplay, showing you the components, and offering you some brief thoughts about this game. This is a States of Siege game, and we're going to show you the basic layout of the board here, which is set up as if we were mid-play. And over here we have laid out some of the components that you get with the game and the expansion. And we will also be discussing the cards, which come in 2 decks, and for this solo game, dictate how the action advances. First, we're going to take a look at the overall game board and explain what this game is about. You are defending a castle, and you're here in the middle of the board with your heroes that are helping you defend against the invading armies that come in on 3 or 4 tracks, depending on whether it is day or night. Right now we are in night. As we mentioned, this is a solitaire game. Action is determined by drawing cards from one of 2 predetermined decks based on whether it is nighttime during the game or daytime during the game. We're going to briefly go through what is shown on the cards. Each card has a title at the top, in this case Master of Night. It has a row that depicts some icons which are corresponding to the various tracks that are coming in of invading armies, and if an army icon appears there, you need to advance that army 1 spot. Then, in this case, there is some mandatory text for something for you to do, and you are given a certain number of basic actions and heroic actions that you can take with your defenders to help you push back these armies. These could include using magic or attacking and some various other things. There's some flavor text at the bottom. Now you'll note over here, this question mark is an optional quest that you may or may not attempt to do in the game. At the bottom of some cards, there will be the time marker. If this appears when you are done with the card, you may advance the time token 1 spot.
Now we're going to take a closer look at what's on the game board. So over here you have your day and night track where you can keep time of the game. If you are still alive in your castle, no of the enemies have gotten into it, you win at the final twilight, which is also the 3rd night. Here is your magic track where you can have divine magic over here and arcane magic over here, and how much of each you have. Your morale tells you if you get less actions, more actions, or the normal amount of actions. So right now we have less. Your defenders over here, those tell you how many attacks you can do without using heroics. So you could, right now we have 3 for the melee attacks, 2 for the ranged, and this is our priest who can help us chant, and he gives you a dice roll modifier for +2. Right now at his current health. This is the reserves where things you're not using can go, and it has this very helpful over here sequence of play little player aid that can help you through the way. And then finally you have your enemy tracks where you have the east wall, which has right now a skeletal, the sky, which has a flying enemy, a dragon, a west wall, which is like the east wall, they're just coming in from the sides, you have a zombie, and the gate has 2 or more enemies at all times. So this is the track that I like to focus on. Now that you've seen the board, let's go over some of the pieces that come with it. So here we have 2 types of spells, divine and arcane. So when you flip over these guys, when you use your action to buy them, they will tell you what like effect that they have. And then on the player aid or in the rules, it will tell you what that effect does. So for example, we drew this cure wounds one. Here it says cure wounds. Flip 1 wounded hero. So we can help basically heroes get better. And then here's the heroic effect, which is a more powerful effect. So now let's take a look at these breach marks. So those you get, they also say it on the player aid. Place 1 in army and space 1 advances, and remove the upgrades from this track. So if you have built any of these upgrades, you have to remove them. And then if an army would advance from 1 to 0 again when you have a breach, I'm sorry, but your game is over. The breaches can be built into barricades by rolling a dice and seeing if your number is greater than 2. So now we can move to these bosses, which they're not good at all. They're so hard to defeat. Once you defeated them once, guess what? They're enraged and you have to defeat them again. So those we started playing with once we were familiar with the game. So there's also 2 build tokens, one we have in the game already, and there's 4 things you can build. If you flip them over, you can build acid or oil, which is for a cheaper cost. And on your player aid sheet, it will tell you what everything does, and you can only build 2 a game. Because since they have one on one side and one on the other, you can't have this and the oil and keep flipping them over on different tracks because you're just not allowed to. That would be crazy. So now here we have some other heroes, which we had some on the board. These are from the expansion, and they can get into your game by spells. Here are the king and the archmage, and we have out the prince. These are heroes that can help you out if you get them on a card. And these are just some of the other monsters and enemies that we were not playing with. And the game also comes with this miniature dice, which is about smaller than my finger, as you can see. Now let's talk about the quality of all of these components.
So this is a small game from Victory Point Games. It comes in a poly bag, and the cards themselves, the quality, it's a little thin, as you can see or hear. We decided to sleeve these, and we would recommend you doing that if you anticipate playing this game fairly regularly.
So about the chits and the tokens that you may call them. So these are really great quality. They're very thick. They're not going to break easily. You do have to punch them out, but as you can see, they didn't get ripped so much. And this dice, I am crazy for this dice. It is amazing and small. It is sometimes a little bit hard to roll, so I love it. It's the most cutest thing in the world. I would keep it, but you might want to have spare dice in case you need to roll those instead, or if you have very large hands.
The board itself is a piece of cardboard that's folded. We took this to a local copy shop and had it laminated for really cheap. I think that's a very easy upgrade to do to keep it flat so the pieces don't fall off, and also for overall durability.
You guys were able to see this before, but here you can see the quality of the artwork and the tokens are just so intricate and amazing. The acid is just, I love the acid. It's one of my favorites. And you can see it's like, I don't know if I can go closer, but you can just see all of the designs and effort that they've put into making this game. So it's so beautiful. Overall, I think this is a really nice game. It has a very, very small footprint, so you can play it in bed. It's so much replayability because of the expansion. Even without it, it's just, there's so much variety depending on what monsters you have. And on the back of this player aid, there's random setups that you can develop to see how you're going to play, and then there's different scenarios. This player aid I also love. It makes the game so much easier, and then all of the components from the die to the pieces in the game, it's all just so great.
I agree. I think this is a really fun game to get if you're looking for a game that plays relatively quickly but has a lot of decision making possible. I agree it has replayability. We play it for a while in a row and then maybe put it back in the game closet and take it out again, because there are so many decisions to make that no 2 games feel exactly alike, even if the same events are coming up.
One more thought before we end this video. It's not like you're going to win every single time. You know, it's a very even balance, because if you've chosen a more challenging game, you might not win, but even if you're playing a fairly easy game, you just might not win. It's not like you're always going to win or you're always going to lose. It's a pretty even balance. And it's not mostly luck-based, but sometimes I get really mad at that little die because it just keeps rolling ones, and on a 1, no matter what, you fail. So
yeah, I mean, obviously when you have a game with a dice roll in it, there's a certain amount of luck. What's nice about this game is you can definitely make choices to hopefully maximize your luck and set yourself up at the beginning of the game, say, to try to play with more or less of a certain type of magic and use that to mitigate the luck. But at the end of the game, the desperate feeling is really built up, and that's a really nice thing about this game too. It gives you that emotional feeling of desperation, like your castle walls are really about to be blown in by these invading armies, and can you stay alive until that final twilight and survive the game?
Thanks for watching.